webinar? Yes, I do. So let me refresh the page. I'm streaming this webinar. It should be updated. Okay, no, it doesn't. Okay, and if you want to watch my previous webinars, you can find it here using this playlist. And finally, my website, which is tricksofchess.teachable.com, where you can find my some information about me, my online courses, and my blog. So, by the way, those who wanted to get my book devoted to 10 tips for self-studying chess, you can subscribe here and you will receive this book automatically by email. So this is the link for you. Okay, so once again, my chess.com profile, this is. Okay, Tony, what procedures are you asking? Okay. Okay, fine. So today we're going to talk about tactical motifs. Okay. So, and the first tactical motive that we are going to discuss is spin. So, first of all, why it's important to learn to do puzzles and pay attention to the tactical motive that is hidden here. It's because this helps you to recognize the ideas in your game. So, for example, here, what tactical motive can be applied? So the first move that comes to our minds is, of course, queen h7. But isn't it a blunder because after rook h3 our queen is pinned? It may be, but then we may notice that actually the rook here is not protected by the pawn because of the pin. Our task is only to get rid of the rook on d5, and then we can successfully capture on h3. So here we may notice that the pin of the g2 pawn may work, and we are looking at how to implement this idea. And then we are starting to analyze different positions. For example, we can start maybe first with something that is first we usually start with checks. So for example, rook d3. No. First we start with checks, which is queen h7. Okay, but for this puzzle we'll leave it for as the second option. The first and the most logical move is rook d3, or bishop takes d3, but then queen h7 doesn't work because the h7 square is under attack of that bishop standing on d3, so it doesn't work. That's why we should start with check. And now we see that if only the king moves, we capture on d3 and gain a piece. Bishop takes, queen takes, and we are piece up. If after queen h7 he blocks with our rook, then we may take the advantage of this pin. But our queen is hanging twice, so we have to get rid of this rook by delivering a check. That's why after this move, after rook h3, we play rook d1 check. King has to move to h2. What do we have to play now? We should play rook h1, and if the king is attracted to h1, then queen takes rook, the pawn is pinned. And then we checkmate. And if after rook h1 he goes to h4, then we deliver a checkmate in 2 moves. I hope you found it everything. Okay, so yes, you can suggest your answers. Okay, I'll show you. So queen h7 first, rook h3, rook d1 goes there, and then rook h1. If now king takes, then we can fully take the advantage of this pin and successfully capture on h3 with our queen, so that the g2 pawn is pinned. He has only to move with the king, and then he gets a checkmate with queen g2. What if he doesn't take but play king g3? If so, there are several things that we can do. We can capture on h3, for example, g takes h3, and then play queen h4. And after king goes to h2, we checkmate with this move. But we can play much faster and play queen h4 right now. The king is under a check, rook has to take, and then pawn checkmates. So this is a checkmate. So, but of course, in this position, queen h3 doesn't work. So if we play queen h3 right now, he can at least capture with the king and then escape to g3. So it doesn't work. So the idea is that this pin works only when the king is on h1. However, we either involve the rook into the attack or force the king to stay on h1, where we can implement this idea. Okay, so the idea of learning puzzles by motifs is that you are trying to, first, by looking at this position, you are trying to recognize which motif to apply. And then you know what you will be looking for, so that it makes easier to find the move. Okay, that was a good example. Let me show you another one. So in this position, it's black to move. What do you think black should do? How to take the advantage of the pin? And actually, is there any pins? I don't think so, at least right now. Bishop h3 is check, but it's not obligatory for white to capture that bishop. Just wait a sec. Bishop h3, king can just move back to g1 probably. No, Vincent, unfortunately you are mistaken. Okay, let's go through the line that Vincent suggests. So here, first of all, there is another tactical motif that is not a part of this puzzle, but is definitely used here. This motif is called distraction. What distraction means? It means that we have to distract a piece to be able to capture the piece that this piece is defending. So the king defends queen, and if only we get rid of the king by playing bishop h3, and after king h3, the king gets distracted, the queen is no longer protected, and we can capture it. However, everyone understands that white won't capture. They understand that the queen will be under attack, so they play this move. Now Vincent suggests queen takes f2, king takes f2, bishop f1, king takes f1, and then the c pawn is promoted. Actually not, you are mistaken. It's not, because the king is able to catch it. And how to realize if the king can catch the pawn or not? So in this position, black plays c3, and then this is the square of the pawn. Wait. Yes, this is the square of the pawn, c3, e3, e1, c1. And if the enemy king is able to get into this square, for example, he plays either these or this move, then he can catch the pawn. If not, then we promote first. This is called this rule is called the square of a pawn. Okay, so what to do? How to take the advantage of the pin in this position? There is no pin, that's right, but you may create. By playing bishop h3, you create a pin. King goes to g1. This is a pin, but you may create another one by playing queen e1. And then white is totally pinned. He can't do anything. If only he moves the queen, then queen takes f1 with a checkmate. The king has no squares to escape. His task is just everything he can do is just stay and wait, while we will promote the c pawn by playing c3, c2, c1 equals queen, and then win the game. Okay, fine. I hope it's clear. So when I was looking at this position, so how to realize that you should be looking for a pin? So first of all, there is a attractive move, which is bishop h3, that forces the king to go to g1. After that, we can probably trade the material, but if so, the enemy king is able to catch the pawn, which we don't want, because our pieces are much more active, and without a pawn, we are likely to lose this pawn in game. But we may play queen a1 to pin him, and then we take the advantage of this pin. So first, I realized that bishop h3 works, and then second, I realized that by playing queen a1, I pin white pieces so that they can't do anything while black has a clear plan. Queen d1 works as well. Doesn't really matter which move to play. Queen a1 or queen d1. Okay, fine. And actually, chess players say that about 30% of all games are won because of pins, especially at club players level. Please keep it in mind. And yes, then this is the actual game for Masters. So keep it in mind and try to take the advantage of every pin that you create. So the second tactical motive that we are going to analyze is a discovered attack. What discovered attack means? So, for example, you have a certain line that is closed by your own piece. You remove this piece, and your other piece attacks something. It can be a certain square that this other piece should occupy, or it can be an enemy piece that you want to capture. So, what do you think? What do you think black can do in this position? Please keep in mind that white wants to capture on g7. So there is a good question from Dmitry. How is club level defined? So actually, club players are considered players with FIDE rating under 1900. I would say maybe from 1200 to 1900. So the queen and rook are on the same file. What do we want to play in this position? So we move the rook, and it opens the attack of the queen, because here, with such a king, having no squares to escape, we can deliver a checkmate queen d1. But the problem is that we should find the place for our queen, for our rook. Okay, I see many of you suggest rook g3 move. Some suggest rook f7. I'll show you. If, for example, you decide to play rook g3, wait, what's going on? So rook g3, then they can capture with the f pawn, and queen d1 is no longer a mate because king escapes here. So this line doesn't work. But if we play rook f7, So this is how we not only attack the rook, but also defend the g7 square, so there is no threat. He is likely to defend against the checkmate, which is the main threat in this position. The king goes probably there, after which we can capture the rook and successfully win this game. For example, then queen f7 and queen c7, winning this game. Fine. Okay, just one more thing to explain. How to find that in this position you should be looking for a discovered attack. First of all, you should try to picture what do you want to do in this position. Of course, first of all, you are looking at the king. The enemy king is quite weak. And something like that, queen d1, is a mate. But you can't go there because the rook blocks the diagonal. So think where you should move the rook to, and always think about the consequences of this move, such as, for example, after rook g3, f takes g3, and the king escapes. But after rook f7, the king doesn't escape, or he does, but loses the rook. I don't think that it's good to say look for undefended pieces. Look for concrete ideas and then try to understand what you should do to be able to achieve these goals and to reach the position that you picture it in your mind. Okay, so the next one. So another example of a discovered attack. In this position, it's white to move. I'll flip the board. Try to think. Okay, let me answer the questions. We must evaluate the positions. Of course, you should evaluate the positions at every moment of the game. You should do this. Maybe not every move, but every 2-3 moves. What time control? I mean, if you play the game on internet, I recommend maybe 30 minutes plus something, or at least 15 plus 10. If you are talking about puzzles, I recommend you spending 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes per puzzle, not more than 10. Okay, so let me answer your questions. 5 minutes on one puzzle, yes. And please do at least 50 puzzles per week. This is how you should progress. 15 plus 10 games are okay as well. 10 plus 0, no. Puzzle Rush, no, I don't recommend you doing Puzzle Rush because this is where you should think about your reaction. This is what you improve, but not the ability to calculate tactics and to notice tactical strikes. Puzzle Storm, maybe, but not Puzzle Rush. Okay, I'm just looking if there is an option to share the a file. I play 30 puzzles every day. How do you do them? Okay, so there are several good questions. So first of all, when you solve puzzles, do you do it on internet? If yes, then before you make the first move, make sure that you solved everything properly and calculated every possible secondary line, and you are sure that all these lines you get a winning position, or at least a better position. Okay, so is there any way by which we can try to apply what we are learning in puzzles to actual games? Yes, there is. So you should analyze the position and try to understand what you should be looking for. But of course, it also comes with practice. For example, some coaches say that if you want to succeed with tactics, you should just solve many puzzles, and doesn't really matter which topics are they devoted to. But some other coaches, including me, say that you'd better learn tactical motives because it will be easier for you to recognize them during the games. And then you won't be looking for everything. You will be looking for these concrete tactical motive that's gonna happen in this game. So the position should indicate what we should be looking for. So, for example, what about this position? I'm going to explain everything by this example. So this bishop doesn't really have many squares to move to. The king is kind of weak, and if only we get wait a sec. If only we get the rook to the 7th rank, the king can be under the attack. So the bishop doesn't really have many squares to move. We may take the bishop, but the problem is that it's defended by the pawn, and I'm not sure if it works. We may play something like that to threaten rook b5, because the enemy queen is unprotected. So the first thing that signals you that you may be looking for a discovered attack is that after playing queen a3, the queen on d6 is unprotected. That's why any rook move, especially a rook move with a check, almost guarantees that you're gonna gain the queen. But if you don't make a move with check, let's say, so you capture the bishop on b5, for example, with your rook, then he takes your queen, and if you take, then you lose your rook. But if here you find an intermediate move like rook b7 check, then you just capture the bishop for free, but traded the queens. So a4, this is the main move. Why? If now bishop goes somewhere, a6 is the only possible square, then a rook takes c6, queen d8, no, rook c7 with a strong attack. For example, this move, queen e5, take, the other rook joins the attack, and this is a checkmate. But even if it's not, it's a winning position, and you shouldn't calculate this line deeper. So, for example, you see a4, bishop moves, I capture the pawn, and after rook c7, I gain the pawn, and I have a strong attack. Stop. If there should be anything better, you'll find it later. Don't calculate too much. Don't spend your time on already winning position. So the only other move and the only logical move here is to take. But then you play queen a3, and this move creates actually a double threat. You're threatening to take on a4. The bishop has no squares to move except b5. And now we can apply a discovered attack. We take on b5 with our rook. So his queen is under attack. If he moves the queen, we can just move the rook back and save it, and finally gain a bishop. If queen takes queen, then we have an intermediate check, rook b7. Even if he blocks, we can trade with checks and take on a3. So we get an extra knight. Okay, let me quickly answer the questions. I've heard you were... Okay, yes, I'm doing a chessable course on Khan Sicilian. Puzzles from the books, this is what I recommend. Yes, there are books with standard motifs, and you can find them in my self-studying chess guide. How do you know if a position is better? You should compare positional factors. This is a different topic, and we're gonna talk about it later, maybe in a few webinars. Okay, so yes, there is a good question by Dmitry, who has a high rating on tactics, but middle rating in rapid. So the difference between is 600, 700 points, which is really much. So what can I say? Yes, I don't think there should be such a difference. I think there is a problem with websites, and they shouldn't actually inflate your puzzle rating. So maybe 2400 is a good range. So just don't pay much attention to the puzzle rating that you have on chess.com or Lichess. Make sure that you spend 5 minutes on each puzzle, well, about 5 minutes in average, and solve at least 50 per week, and this is where you'll find that you progress. Okay, 30 plus 15 is okay, of course. Does reading chess books help your chess? It depends, actually. It depends on the person. Some people like reading chess books, some not. Actually, next week I'm going to make a review on the website that allows to read a book, to read a chess book, and at the same time makes move on the board. So they have a chessboard integrated into the web page. Which time control should a 1500 feeder rated player play? 30 minutes or even maybe 1 hour per side plus some increment. Yes, there are some apps. Yeah, but actually, I recommend you solving puzzles from the books. Bullet games doesn't allow you to progress. You can play them for fun only. Okay. Let me just double check if there are any other questions. Why 50 puzzles per week? According to my experience, what I taught my students, doing it quite regularly allows them to calculate better and notice more tactical strikes during the games. Okay, let me show another tactical motive. The next one is double attack, and I have only one example. So it's black to move, you can solve, and then I'll explain the logic. Which puzzles books do I recommend? Actually, the books that I recommend you can find in my self-studying chess guide. So if you don't have it, you can go to this web page. This is my blog. Subscribe there, and you'll automatically receive it by email. Yes, bullet games can decrease your overall chess skills. I think so. As for manual of chess combinations, okay, guys. So what I recommend, what I definitely recommend, the book that I have in Russian actually only, but you can find even a Russian version, and these are just puzzles. Doesn't really matter which language there is. The book is called 1200 Combinations by Alexandra Block. So no, there is no recording for the previous webinar. Oh, anyway, if you want to get it, just email me at tricksofchess@gmail.com. Okay, so now let's analyze this position. It's black to move. What do you think black should do? Black knight is hanging, but at the same time, white king is exposed, and we are dreaming of playing knight to e3. The problem is that this square is occupied with our queen. What should we do? We should create a double threat. Double attack, it's not only about attacking two pieces simultaneously. It can be an attack of one piece and at the same time creating a threat. Or it can be a move that creates two threats simultaneously. Yes, here the move is queen e6. By playing such a move, you make a double attack. You attack the rook and you want to play knight e3, and there is no defense against both of them. He can play with the queen, save his queen, but blunder the rook. Well, not blunder, but sacrifice. And that's it. So how to notice it? Now, here it's obvious that knight e3 is definitely the move that we want to play. So we should move the queen. We can just move the queen anywhere, let's say e5, for example, and threaten with knight e3. Then you should ask yourself if there is anything better than your queen can do. And the answer is, of course, yes, my queen can attack the rook, and this is how I create a double threat. And this guy is unlikely to defend against both threats simultaneously. Well, double attack is quite a popular tactical motif. However, the next one we are going to analyze is an intermediate move. So here black is under the pressure, and white is about to play bishop d6. And then checkmate. Actually, the rook is hanging as well. What do you think black should do? Okay, a good question. Yes, Bloch has two books devoted to motifs. They are almost similar. Okay, who cannot see my screen? Let me just share it one more time. What about the screen? Does everybody see it? Okay, perfect. Bishop d6 is not a mate, but it may lead to a checkmate. Okay, so Marcel, please explain your idea. You are the first who suggested rook takes h2 move. Well, queen b5, queen h8, maybe. So I don't really see that black can succeed there. Yes, everyone can suggest the line. Okay, so for those of you who ask about what happens if I don't solve the puzzle in 5 minutes, and especially for Alexander Fedorov, what should you do? If you don't solve the puzzle for the first 5 moves, you skip it and solve the other one. Then you solve a few, and then you go back to the puzzle that you didn't solve and try to spend 5 minutes more. And if not, then again, 5 minutes. So totally, you second time you spend 10 minutes for that puzzle that you didn't solve. If you can't solve it, no, you can just relax, work, eat, do anything, then get back to this puzzle. Set the position on a physical chessboard and try to analyze, try to solve it there on the physical chessboard, but don't move the pieces on the board. So let's go back. to this position? Yes, the answer is rook h2. The idea of such a move is that by playing this move, we gain a tempo. The king has to take, and then we desire of getting the queen somewhere to the h file to deliver line mate. And we actually can do it with checks. We play this move. If now he blocks with his rook, for example, or with his queen, doesn't really matter. We deliver a checkmate. If he decides to play this move, then of course we play queen g2. So that's the idea. By playing rook h2, we deliver a check. So it allows us to play queen h7 in two moves, but both moves are with checks. So we don't allow us opponent to play something random, something that helps him to continue his attack or get his king to a safe place or somehow defend it. No, actually, how to realize that this is the move that you should play. So first of all, you may notice, okay, my rook covers the g file. And if only I can get rid of the pawn, I can checkmate by doing a line mate. I can get rid of this pawn by sacrificing, but then I have to put my other major piece to the h file. How can I do that? Okay, not directly, but I can use the c2 square because it's also a check and deliver my queen to h7. So this is the geometry. And actually, some motifs are no. So, for example, when I was creating tactical courses, I combined several motifs into one course and called it geometry, because this is where you should look at not on a certain side of the board, but on both sides of the board. You can do something on the queen side, but at the same time, it helps you to succeed on the king side. Okay, let me close it. The next one is this. It's black to move, you may think, while I'm answering the questions. Okay, so there is a good question. Where can we find the geometry course? Okay, so especially for you, I created a bundle of 3 tactical courses. These are these courses. So this is a geometrical course. Now, can we click on it? Yes, we can. So, for example, this course covers such tactical motifs as blockade, opening a file, clearing the space, interference. It's called damming, but it means interference, and X-ray attack that we are also going to cover on this webinar, by the way. So this course, attacking tactical chess maneuvers. This course covers Annihilation of Defense, decoying, what means attraction, distraction, discovered attack, and pursuit. These two courses were created by me, but voiced by my friend Mark Irimenko, who is a chess expert. However, I asked him to voice these courses because his English was much better than mine at that moment. And the other course that I voiced myself is this one, tricky tactical chess maneuvers. So here, how to get stalemated, how to restrict the material to make a draw, promote a pawn. Intermediate move actually is here because this is a really tricky motif that many people, especially grandmasters, blunder. And here in the course, I demonstrated the game played by Peter Swidler and Magnus Carlsen, where Magnus blundered an intermediate move by Peter. Peter applied it. However, he couldn't win the game. The game ended in a draw. And destroying pawn cover. So this course is White Bite Me. And so if you decide to enroll into this bundle, you can get it only for $49. And you also get a bonus of a course devoted to mating patterns. So this is the link. If you want, you may enroll into it. Okay. Okay, so let me answer the questions. Why is book better than city art? Because when you make a move, city art responds automatically, so that you are not looking for what your opponent gonna play. You are expecting the machine to play such a move. If you can use city art properly, then it can be better than a book. If, for example, before you make a move, you predict everything that every logical move that your opponent gonna play. Have you done the Bobby Fischer chess puzzle book? What do you mean by have you done? I don't know this book, but actually right now I'm working on a course devoted to the Bobby Fischer contribution in chess. So what we can learn from Bobby Fischer. I'm analyzing his games and explain what you should get, what you may get from them. Okay, so how long did it take to become a FIDE master? If I'm not mistaken, 1 year and 1 month. No, not 1 month. 1 year and 3 months. 3 months. How long? So you should play tournaments, and I think the best and important thing that that you should have a desire to play chess, to progress, and to beat everyone. And of course, you should play tournaments, and you should find tournaments that are suitable for you. Like, don't play with people who are lower rated than you. Play with people who are stronger than you. If you draw, it's good. If you win, it's perfect. No, I didn't play against Hikaru. However, I drew once against Soviet chess legend Mitchell Krasinkov. Yes, I'm thinking about becoming an international master, then a grandmaster maybe, but not right now. I don't have enough time to spend to my own preparation. So what did I do? I had classes once a week with a grandmaster Dmitry Bachurov, and what else? I was reading book by Boris Gelfand, analyzing the positions, and of course doing tons of puzzles. Frustrated with chess? No. Okay, let's continue. So, which move did you suggest? Here, the idea is that the queen is almost trapped. Our task is just to find a way how to attack it. We can play g5, but our rook is there, so that's why we are thinking of what can we do with this rook. We can play rook h5, after which the queen has no squares to move, but they may capture with the bishop. If so, we vacate the square for our pawn, and then the queen is trapped. So something like that doesn't work, we just take. And white loses the material. So how often you should play ODB tournaments if you want to succeed? Maybe 5-6 times in a year. Women candidate master title by next year. Probably it's possible. It depends on your level and depends on your training strategy, training plan. Two rooks for a queen. Okay, let's continue. So bishop goes there, pawn takes there, bishop goes there, then what? Bishop d4 has to be played, c takes d4, and then queen takes d7. Yeah, it's two rooks. Two rooks for a queen, but I think black is better. Maybe there is somewhere we can improve it. Yes, for example, here we can improve and take with our queen, and then the queen is trapped anyway. So this is better. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's close it. The next one is X-ray. Okay, so yeah, there is a question. How long do you think until I can become a candidate master? I have no ideas because everything is personal, and it depends on who your coach is and how fast you progress, how often do you play, how many puzzles do you solve, and of course on your intellectual abilities, but it's not the main factor. The main factor is a passion at chess. If you are really passionate, you will succeed. No, 10 plus 15 is not a good time control. Good control for what? At least 15 plus 10 should be played if you want to progress. FIDE provides the titles, or there are some national titles. For example, I know that United States provides with national master. Russian Federation also Russian Federation gives candidate master. Yes, I do coaching on Zoom. Yes, I can do either on Zoom or on Skype, or I can run my webinar platform and do one-by-one session there. So we are talking about X-ray. What it is? The X-ray is a kind of attack when you attack through the piece, through the enemy piece. For example, in this position, white attacks the e8 square twice with this queen and with this rook. So it looks weird, but this rook attacks the e8 square through the enemy rook. How to take the advantage of it? Just play queen e8. Rook takes e8, rook takes rook. This is a checkmate. So this is called X-ray attack, when you attack through the enemy piece. Here you attack a certain square that is also attacked with your other piece, and because of the weakness of the back rank, you should be looking at moves that delivers your major pieces to the 8th rank, so that you may consider maybe queen g8, no, of course, but queen e8. But then you realize that actually you also have a rook there attacking the e8 square, and this is how you checkmate. Okay, and the second one. So this is for black. It's black to move. Please think. It's called X-ray attack, or X-ray attacking, or just X-raying. Okay, so questions. Okay, everyone who is interested in one-to-one coaching sessions, so for private lessons, you can email me at tricks gameofchess@gmail.com. Moreover, if, for example, you decide that my rate is too high, I can recommend a few other coaches from my school, from my online school that I organized, and maybe you will be interested in lessons with them. One of them is also a FIDE master like me. The other one is a grandmaster. Okay, Chris asks if he starts playing in January and he's 1250. Is that good? Yes, it is. Don't worry, you should play at least online to get self-confidence. Okay, so rook e1. Yes, actually, the e1 square is attacked twice with two rooks. Sorry, it's not the best move, definitely. So the e1, what's going? Oh, no, this. No, this. Wait. Yeah, this square is attacked twice with two rooks, and rook e1 is probably a move that you may suggest, but if you play rook e1 right now, I don't know what to do after king f2. Yes, you need to control the f2 square. So this is the first thing that you should notice, that you can check on e1, and then rook takes rook, and your b rook joins the attack. But king goes to f2, and then I don't know what to do. What you may do first, you may play bishop d4 move. So if bishop d4 is played, they gonna play something like what? Rook takes d4. But if rook takes d4, then we can play rook e1, and we also control the f1 square. So if the king goes to f2, we can just play rook f1 and gain the queen. That's why after bishop d4, we should consider something like that. King h1 is not a move, because we can just play rook e1 and then checkmate. So bishop d4, king f1. What do you think we can do? Actually, let me play the moves on the board. So rook d4, rook e1, and doesn't really matter if he takes or not. After king f2, we play rook f1 and gain the queen. So what to do if king goes to f1? What do you think? Rook b2? No, rook b2 doesn't make much sense. I'm sure he can defend the position by playing. Rook b2 is a clever move as well. But after rook b2, I'm not sure what to do in case of knight c7. Yeah, so if knight c7, then what? So yes, here the best move is rook e3. And now we take the advantage of the pin. The rook on d3 is pinned. So what means that the e3 can be captured with the knight only. And then we play queen d3, taking the advantage of this pin. So what to do? Queen blocks on e2, for example. Then we just play queen e3 with the idea that if he captures on b1, we checkmate on g1. And if he captures our queen, we check first. King moves, we take. He takes one of our pieces, but we have the other one left on the board and are able to finally win the game. So I think the webinar will last for maybe 20 or 25 minutes more. So this is X-ray. So the next tactical motif is opening a line. So sometimes certain lines, it can be files, ranks, or diagonal, are closed with your pieces. And your task is to find a way how to move this piece quickly, to be able to join the piece that is blocked into the attack or into some active actions. So what do you think about this position? Which piece we should open? By the first glance, if we analyze it, we may notice that queen is attacking the queen. However, they both are protected with knights, but the problem is that the enemy knight attacks our queen. However, at the same time, we may notice that the knight is the only defender of the queen on b5. And you may consider something that allows you to get rid of this knight. Like bishop takes d4. However, the problem is that you can't play bishop d4 right now, the knight blocks. So let's remove the knight first. That's why the answer is knight f3. And if knight takes f3, you just take the queen for free. However, if something else takes it, like rook, then bishop d4, check, he has to take, and then he loses the queen anyway. So this is how we join the bishop to the game. By the way, guys, what do you think is the best move for white in this position? Yes, definitely. It's king h1. And if he plays king h1, what should we do? Yes, knight takes knight. We not only destroy his defender, but also protect our queen as well. And if now queen takes queen, we gain at least an extra piece. So here, I think the idea was obvious. After you realize that the enemy queen is protected only by the knight, you should release the bishop and take on d4 with a check. The next position is taken from the game where Garry Kasparov was playing with black pieces. What do you think he played in this position? Okay, as for the previous position, it doesn't really matter which piece takes on f3 because bishop takes d4 is a check. Did you have chess classes in school? You mean, did I learn chess at school? No, I didn't. I was studying chess not in a school, but on a special chess school, which was very close to my home when I was younger. And I was spending 3 hours and a half. So I had 3 lessons a week. One of them, each of them was 3 hours and a half. No, it's not deflection, it's opening a line. And here, And here you have to open the D file. If only you play knight c5 and this knight is taken, you take with the D pawn and the queen has no squares to move to. So it's trapped and you win. But of course, it's not obligatory to capture that knight. And if you see that after knight c5, the opponent just plays a move and there is nothing better for you but to retreat, then knight c5 is not a good move. But in this position, the knight on c5 also attacks on e4. If they, for example, move the queen, we can capture on e4 immediately because we have already 3 pieces attacking while he has only 2 defenders. Or if he plays rook c2, keeping the queen as the defender, we can play e5, chasing the queen, queen moves, and then knight takes. This is how we at least gain a pawn, and this is how Gary got a better position. Okay, so 3 lessons every day. Yes, chess was the only activity that I did, except, of course, school lessons. It was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after school. So I come from school at 2 p.m. and from 3 p.m. to 6:30 I had chess classes. And actually, no, my parents didn't support me. They just say, okay, if you like chess, study chess. It's no problem. If you need some tournament fees, it's okay. Everything will be paid. But actually, in Russia, that time, coaching sessions were free. Nowadays, everything is paid. You have to pay if you study with a good coach. However, when I was 12, I was already a candidate master, and I was playing at the same strength and as my coach. So it was a good chance for me to find the better coach. However, my parents didn't persuade me to do that, and at that time I wasn't sure that this is what I need. But now I understand that the best thing I could do is to change a coach to a stronger player, like international master, maybe to a grandmaster, and this is how I could continue progressing. But I didn't do that, and I just progressed a little bit after that. So the next webinar will be next Sunday. So 3 lessons every week. Okay, so here, let's go back. So we play knight c5, and if this knight is taken, the queen is trapped because of the rook. If not, and he tries to avoid a knight b3 move, for example, plays this move, we chase the queen, no defenders, not enough defenders of e4, and we just take this pawn. Okay, trying to close it. Okay, so something wrong happened with ChessBase. I'm not using the engine right now, but sorry about that. Sometimes it happens. How about attraction? Yes, attraction is definitely what we are going to talk a little bit later. Okay, let me quickly answer the questions. Oh, yeah, I'm glad that you wake up early just to visit this webinar. FIDE titles are, of course, better than FIDE Arena titles. Because so when I play OTB tournaments, so title players, they are just wondering who is that guy. For example, I played once with Arena Grandmaster, the guy who has a FIDE rating about 2000, and I beat him with almost no problems with black pieces. So arena grandmasters, why he plays weaker than a candidate master? So who cares about these titles? That's why no. And actually, when you play online, there is always a risk of cheating. Arena Masters, maybe it's 1800 players. Okay, what about attraction? Yes, attraction. This is what we're gonna do. Definitely today. Yes, decoy or decoying is just a synonym to the word attraction. Do you play against students? From time to time, I conduct simuls. So the next webinar will be a simultaneous exhibition. And if you want, you can reserve your spot by emailing me at tricksofchess@gmail.com. So this is my address. And if you have any questions about coaching or about simuls or about the webinars, just message me. And of course, sometimes I play as a partner with some strong players. For example, I played a match with a talented girl who is about maybe 2100. So, okay. It is still. Okay, unfortunately, I had to do that. Let's run it again. So there was also the question, what rating do you recommend we need to take your course? Which course? Okay, so while we are waiting for ChessBase to run again, let me share the screen. If speaking about tactical motifs, they are for many levels, from beginners to 1900 players, even maybe for 2000 players. If speaking about other courses, some of them are for beginners. For example, learn how to play chess from scratch is not for you. I'm sure you know how to move your pieces. So online intensive chess course for beginners is a good for beginners. Openings for beginners and club players, the other one that I recommend. These tactical courses can be either for beginners or for intermediate club players. So end games are mainly for intermediate club players. Chess opening traps just for anyone. Game plan for intermediate club players. And again, end game courses for intermediate club players. Learn how to checkmate. Yeah, this one can be taken from beginners. How to play with or against isolated pawn. It's for intermediate club players. And so this is our end game course bundle. But so if you're a beginner, I recommend you to improve your tactics. So do tactical courses, or if you don't want to enroll into the course, you can just solve puzzles from books. Okay, so let's continue where we stopped. Attraction is the next one. So it can be also called decoy, but I prefer to use the word attraction, because the idea is to attract the enemy piece to a certain position, and after that to apply a tactical strike. For example, usually we attract the king and then are trying to checkmate it. However, sometimes we also attract pieces, especially queens. Because if, for example, we can attract the queen to a certain square, then maybe we can deliver a fork and gain it for free. So what do you think we should do in this position? So beginners are people under 1200, I think. 1200 on chess.com and 1600 on Lichess. Daily games, why not? If you don't have time to play 30 minutes games or 15 plus 10, then daily games is your choice. How to improve in chess strategy? Play games, analyze them with a coach, try to find the plans. Also analyze grandmasters games in these openings so that you learn the ideas and plans. Attraction is not similar to distraction, because when you play, when you're looking for distraction, you are trying to get rid of a piece, to distract it. But when it's attraction, you attract. So you want this piece to be at this certain square. But when you distract, you just want to get rid of the piece. Doesn't really matter where it stays. Okay, so yeah, my favorite player is Garry Kasparov. Is there courses for advanced players? Yes, they are. For example, my Sicilian course. Actually, as for courses about, now let's finish with this, and then I'll answer about the courses for advanced players. So here, definitely Rook A3 is the best move. By playing this move, we either checkmate or force them to take with the queen, and then we can apply a discovered attack. We move the pawn. The king is under a check. It moves to A5, for example, and then we take the queen. That's it. The problem is that here it works only with this move order. If, for example, we play B5 immediately, then just queen takes B5. And Rook A3 doesn't make much sense because he is able to block with the knight. So attract the queen with Rook A3, and then apply a tactical strike, a discovered attack in our case. In this position, it's white to move. What to attract to be able to succeed? No. Okay. So here, the first thing that we should notice is that the G7 is weak. We have a rook standing on the G file, so if we threaten this square with something else, sorry. No, rook G7 is definitely not a good move, but if we threaten with something else, like maybe with the bishop, maybe with the queen, we can deliver a check. So with the queen, we can actually checkmate. If only we play such a move, we threaten a checkmate. Of course, he'll find the defense with f6, for example, then we have to retreat with our queen. But what if this move will be a double attack? Can we attract something? If we play bishop c7, we create a pin, and we want his rook to take this bishop, because then we play queen e5 and make a double attack. Queen takes g7, queen takes c7. So what can he play to be able to defend? Probably king f8, because now it doesn't make sense to capture on g7. The king escapes, but he has an extra bishop. That's why we just capture here. He moves maybe bishop e8 in this position, and white is better. Not winning, but slightly better. So bishop c7 to attract the rook, because then queen e5 is a real tactical strike. Why not knight d5? Why not? I think knight d5 doesn't work. So let's decide what's wrong with this move. For example, rook takes here. Then knight e7. Okay. Okay, if so, I can do at least these. No, I can do these. Rook takes. Then let's say this move. You take here, and what? What did you achieve actually? Nothing. For example, rook e6. You have to trade. Bishop e5, g6. Bishop e5 actually checkmate on c1. So no, it's not a better position for black. It's likely to be a draw with bishops of opposite color. Maybe black should be even winning. But bishop c7 works. Okay. The second one is distraction, where our task is to distract. So look at this position and tell me, what do you want to do? What prevents you from doing it? And how to distract this piece that prevents you from doing what you want. Yeah, this one is easy. Clever. So here you want to play either queen c6 or queen d6. But you can't play these moves right now, because the bishop or pawn stop you. So you can't get rid of the bishop. You don't have a dark squared bishop to get rid of. But you may play a rook a6. And this is a check, so he has to take, or he has to play b6. But now the c6 square is available for the queen, and then you checkmate. The next example is for black. Here it's black to move. The webinar will be over in a few minutes, maybe 5. Yeah, there was a question about courses for strong intermediate players. For strong club players. Yeah, there is a site where you can find my courses, especially openings like beating knight f3, Cancicilian, actually. What else? Catalan, Semislav. And you can use the coupon code So you can use the coupon code Viktor60 and get a 60% discount on any course you choose. So this is the link for you. And this is the coupon code Viktor60. Let's continue with the puzzle. As for my YouTube channel, I'll give you the link. Just wait a sec. No, only Victor 60 works. Okay, so in this position, black is about to checkmate. The king has no squares. Our task is only to deliver a check. But we can't do it with the queen because the queen has to stay and secure some important squares around the king. That's why we should join at least the bishop or the rook. For example, bishop b5 could be a checkmate, but the problem is that the bishop is spent. So we need to distract the queen. We may play a rook a1 to be able to do this. And if queen takes a1, a8, I mean, bishop b5 is a checkmate. But if the queen doesn't do that, but keep the pin by playing queen b7, now we can use our rook and checkmate with rook a2. So the idea of this puzzle was to get rid of the queen by distracting it. And the last tactical motif that I want to show you is called Annihilation of Defense. Annihilation of Defense means that there is a piece that prevents you from doing something, and you should either destroy or distract it. Look at this position. It's white to move. What do you think white should do? Which piece to get rid of to be able to succeed? Exactly. You want to play b6 here, but if you play such a move right now, bishop takes, a takes b6, and the king escapes. It's not a checkmate. So the bishop is a piece that prevents us from doing a checkmate. How to get rid of it? We can capture with the pawn, with the queen, but if we capture it with the queen, it's a check, and he has to take it. But then b6 is a checkmate. And the last one that also is about annihilation of defense. Your task is to find the defender and get rid of it. Okay, what do you think? Who is the defender? What should we get rid of? Rook? No, of course, if we get rid of the rook on d8, we can promote. That's right. But actually, the knight is the defender. We really want to play queen e5 move. If we do this, we can capture on g7 or play queen e8 and take the rook or promote the pawn. So the knight stops us from doing it, and we can take it with our g-rook. What he has to play? If he captures with the h-pawn, then queen e5, threatening the mate, and threatening to play queen e8. So f6, queen e8, and we just capture on d8 and or promote and win the game because of extra material. So for example, king h7, we can play what? Rook takes a6, right? So if he takes our queen, it's fine. If they play something like that, then we can do this move and threaten with the checkmate. But anyway, we are a piece up. So if he captures with the f-pawn, we can still do the same thing, but now there is no defense. They can probably play this move, but queen e8 is a mate. Okay. Okay, yeah, so I'm using chessbase 15. Okay, guys, thank you for attending my webinar. If you have any questions, I can help you with it. If you are looking for 10 tips to how self-study chess, you can just go to my website and subscribe there. Yes, so private lessons, of course, have to be paid. I conduct webinars for free, but private lessons are paid. Okay, thank you. You can, you can email me. The next tournament will be in June. Okay, thank you for attending. See you on my next